Anastasia doing another monologue in the morning. And today I've decided to play with none other than To Be or Not to Be from Hamlet. We've talked about this on the channel before, chiefly in the iambic pentameter video, and it does have some very rich iambic pentameter metrical analysis to be found therein. But also just want to point out that it intimately discusses death, and anyone who truly agrees with the supposition that death is perhaps preferable or nobler than life, really please seek mental health resources. We want you here. We want you here. Now, just because those thoughts pop into someone's head, and even if you entertain them for quite some time, that doesn't necessarily mean you plan to act on them or that you want to act on them. It's very natural for humans to wonder about death. Nobody really knows what it's like. And that is ultimately the crux of Hamlet's issue in this monologue, is that it's the unknown. It's the scary, terrifying unknown. And life, he depicts various lives of drudgery that different people in different ranks in society could be living. That might be terrible, but it's the devil we know. And do we choose that? Very interesting. Many humans choose that most of the time. And even in the Declaration of Independence, it says men are more inclined to suffer while evils are sufferable, right? Then, and now I'm paraphrasing, then to completely change the systems under which they live and create something new. That's scary. That's a lot of work. And so it takes a lot to push us to do that. So I'm going to explore these very familiar words and see what thoughts pop up, both for you and for me as this happens. This is a very famous text if you know it, or if not, you can easily find it. Try it. Try doing it along with your morning routine or a, very mindless behavior you could multitask with, like folding laundry or whatever, and just see how your body responds to the words and what you might notice. Even if you don't find it horribly edifying, it can be a great way to pass time and make tasks more fun, and just be fun in and of itself. So I will stop rambling and let the bard speak. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing, end them. To die, to sleep no more, if by a sleep to say we end the heartache, and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to, 'tis a consummation devoutly to be wished, to die, to sleep, perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life. For who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of despised love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy takes, when he himself might his quietus make with a bare bodkin? Who would fardels bear to grunt and sweat under a weary life, but that the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country, from whose bourne no traveller returns, puzzles the will, and makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others which we know not of. Thus conscience does make cowards of us all. And thus the native hue of resolution is sicklied o'er with the pale cast of thought, and enterprises of great pitch and moment with this regard their currents turn awry and lose the name of action. Yeah, a few things I want to flag before I just say the work speaks for itself. One is the word bodkin. It sounds like it means little body. It doesn't. I made that mistake at first. A bare bodkin sounds like it has quite a different connotation than it does. A bodkin is a type of a blade, type of a dagger. So when he himself might as quiet as make with a bare bodkin, basically, if you have a weapon, you could choose to end things. Is the prosaic way of paraphrasing that line. And fardels being burdens, who would bother? Who would really bother if they had the choice not to bother? Now, in reality, we all have the choice not to bother. I hope you choose life, not just literally, but to truly grasp every moment and live it. But, some individual things in life, it might be better not to bother with. Fun fact that's personal and not related to the bard. I actually used the line, "Thus conscience does make cowards of us all," as the title of a paper that I wrote in law school, and not just like an assignment paper, a whole summer's independent study on an area of law called the duress exception. And I wrote about it in the context of asylum and refugee law. It can also be talked about in a bunch of other contexts. The idea being, if someone has done terrible things that are against the law, things that hurt people, it matters why they did them when we impose consequences. If someone did them with a nefarious intent, what's called malice, then they deserve to face full consequences. But if they didn't, if they were under duress, meaning their life was threatened, their families' lives were threatened, or they were just in some kind of a situation where really truly they couldn't escape, certain military or prison kind of settings, or abusive relationships, etc., we should not blame them for the underlying malice of what they did, only to take regular responsibility for no longer being a danger to society. So that's pretty simplified. If you're a lawyer or a law student, you're probably screaming at me for things I left out or compressed, and you might be wondering what it has to do with parts of the law that aren't criminal. But there you have it. As far as Shakespeare is concerned, intentions matter. And that is ultimately the crux of the tragic flaw, right? Othello says, when he's about to meet his own tragic end, "I was one who loved not wisely, but too well." Now, whether you agree with his characterization of himself or not, One that loved not wisely, but too well. Resonates real hard, doesn't it? So and conscience, I wasn't taking to mean moral conscience also. I was taking it to mean like the risk averse, calculating parts of our brain. So Shakespeare and the law both have a great balance of rhetoric and logic against empathy and emotional social value, which is why I'm probably attracted to both of them. Whatever your profession or intended profession might be, I'm sure there's a meaningful Shakespeare passage to go with it. This is by far the longest Get Ready With Me video that I've done, and certainly I can't imagine ever doing one this long again. But because there's so much to unpack with this passage, I thought I would do some personal sharing, and that hopefully that would inspire all of you to do some personal reflecting. Take care.